Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood. In this video, I'm going to show you how I put together, how I make a sign or a plaque, and where I get my inspiration. Hang around. So this is the month of April 2025, and currently I'm sharing art libraries with my gold patrons on patreon.com/hobowithwood. And this month, instead of sharing just an art library of random pieces of clip art that are, I've got my libraries organized. So like last month it was Easter library, but it was not actual projects. It was just random pieces of art that can be used to create Easter files. Well, this month I'm actually going to share a library that has a selection of ready-made signs / plaques, and I'm using a lot of my art libraries to create these, but then some of the pieces I'm actually having to create entirely from scratch. And thought I'd show you how I find my inspiration and then how I go about recreating these. I don't simply trace images and grab an image and copy and trace it in Lightburn, because I find that usually creates some random artifacts and or less than straight lines, and it's not as clean of a result as actually creating the actual image. And I talk about my files being 100% Lightburn ready, and a trace would be Lightburn ready. It's just not going to be clean, or as clean as an actual recreation from the beginning. So this is an example of one of the signs that here it is, that I did, that's going to be in this art library. And if you don't have a sense of humor, just turn this video off and go away. Since we're redefining everything, this is a cordless hole puncher. I think it's funny. If you don't think it's funny, go find your safety closet, your crying closet, do whatever. I don't know. I don't care. But they're not all like that. I find my inspiration for these signs by going onto Hobby Lobby's website. When I'm in the store, I'll walk around the store taking pictures of all the different things that I like. But if I don't have a reason to go to the store, just go over to the website and start scanning through their wall art. And that's what I've done here, and I've got a sign that's going to be fun to recreate, and it'll be a great opportunity to show you how to use some of the tools in Lightburn. So let's take a look at what I found here. Good jokes, $5. Bad jokes, $1. Dad jokes, free of charge. Now, this in of itself is a simple sign. It's not, doesn't look like there's that much going on, because there's not. But there are some tools in Lightburn that we can use to make this recreation so much easier. And that's what we're going to look at today. So, what I do is I will actually come over and right click, copy the image, then go into Lightburn and paste that image. So now I've got that image over here that I can use as a reference just to look at while I recreate my image. Now, just for those who out there say, oh, I just copy and trace it. Well, let's see what happens when we do that. We will, well, I'm not even going to worry about masking. I'm just going to do a trace image. And she got all the rope and everything else that's up there. We could mask it and get rid of some of that, but let's just see. That looks about as clean as an area, except for all these pieces, which we can clean up. But we'll just say okay. And now let's ungroup it so we can get rid of the stuff we don't want. Don't want all that. In fact, if recreating the outer frame would be easy enough. So let's get rid of all of this. And there you go. There's a trace. All right, and we're going to save that over here. And let's put that back over there so I've got it for reference. And now I'm going to recreate it. Now it's a pretty simple font. It's a little nicer than the Arial font. I think let's look at Cambria. All right, let's look over here. Let's go to and it's all caps. So uppercase is turned on. They're not bold. And let's go to Cambria. Yeah, that's close. I like that. All right. So good. And jokes. All right. That's close. But one of the tools I want to show you is the alignment. Let's come on down here and we do bad jokes and dad jokes. Oh, forgot to hit the enter button. All right, now you didn't see it so much with the good, but you can see it with the bad. See how they're centering them up over each other, and these have got the D and the S aligned with each other. So to do that, we need to align X on the right. You see there? Now they are aligned correctly. Now I don't know about the actual spacing between them. I just that looks fairly decent. But let's see what happens when we bring this up. Yeah, once we blow it up and get it big enough, then it gets to be too big. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to use Cambria, and I'm going to do uppercase. And you know what? Let's look at the Cambria bold and see what it looks like. And let's do good. That's too big. Enter jokes. And we're aligned right, but take the bold off. Okay. And now I'm going to select another spot to do bad jokes. And I'm going to do another entry for dad jokes. All right, now if I'm going to, right now I'm setting this up to be done like on a 5x7 plaque. So if I were, should be 5x7, let's look here. Nope, that's not quite. So let's do 5x7. There we go. And now if I were to do this, if I bring a toolpath here, 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 just putting them random there, and then all the way down at the very bottom. I'm going to select all of that and move it up into, oh, come on now. Select all of it and move. Why is it not selecting it whenever? There we go. And there we go. So now you can see I've got a toolpath at the top of the 5x7 and at the bottom of the 5x7, the guidelines. Now if I select all of these guidelines and distribute them evenly with space between them horizontally here, that spaces those out like that. So now that's equal distance between the top, the first third, bottom third, or middle third, and the bottom third. And actually it looks like they, and that's okay. That's, no, I want to do, because they've got that perimeter frame around there. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's move all of our text, align it to the right. They're all lined up. And now I'm going to move it over here out the way. And let's do, select our 5x7. And if I do an offset of that by, say a 1/4 inch. And say, do not delete the original. Say okay. All right. Now, when you do offsets, you do not have the ability to use your control key to create a radius around those. And I did not go outward. I did not go inward. I went outward. But that's because there's around there. Duh. All right, delete that. Sorry, mistakes and all here, guys. Offset inward 1/4 inch. And we'll use the round and say okay. And that, even though it was, we said round, if it's round, it's just the tiniest bit of round. But when you do an offset, you lose your ability to use the control button to do radius or radii. So instead, I'm going to say Control D, duplicate that, and then I'm just going to move the width in to 1/2 inch, so 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And I had my anchor point in the wrong place. I had my anchor point over there in the center, or in the left center instead of the very center. So now I've got to select that and bullseye it, and now puts that back in the center. But now I should be able to use, well, maybe not. It's not letting me use the control button still. All right. So, delete. I want to use the control button. I could have done this. There's always another way. There we go. But I want to use the control button. Let's put, well, we'll leave that actually on the black layer. And put the dimensions at 4.5 by 6.5 inches. And now select that and bullseye it. And now that, see there, I hit the control button and now I get my little circle pop up there. So now I can hit control and get my radius the way I want it by just dragging it around my look. And say I want that right there. And now do an offset inward of that. And it is not letting me do a round offset inward. But if you go outward, it will. All right, cancel that. Go ahead and do that. We'll do outward and then just reduce it. Outward. See, now you get an outward radius. And let's do a 0.04. Yep. And say okay. Now I'm going to select both of those and tell it to be 4.5 by 6.5. There we go. I'm going to move this one to the bottom of that area there, just inside that innermost. There we go. And now redistribute those. There. So now I've got that worked out. And so now I can take and select my jokes and tell it, and actually, you know, we'll group these temporarily, group them, and then select good jokes and tell it to go to the center of that. Ungroup those, group those, then put bad jokes in the center of that one. Oh, ungroup and group, and put that in the center of that. And let's ungroup those again. There. Now those are centered up, aligned correctly, and now I can use those toolpaths to come in here and draw a straight line from here to here. I will now select that line, duplicate it, and align it to that. Okay, now I've got two lines there. I'm going to select both of those and do an outward offset of a 0.04, and that's going to be too big now that I've reduced that a little bit. Actually, no, I want to do a 0.02 because it's going outward in two directions. So 0.02 would be equal to what I did before. And delete the originals and say OK. All right. Now, let's see here. A $sign. Right down here, and it looks like it's about the same size as the D, but it's below the D. So I'm not going to change my size any, but I'll bring it down here like that. But I'm going to need to know how far that is to get it lined up down here. And I'm going to guess, yeah, see, free is below the D. Yeah, I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this toolpath to there. And then I can measure using my rule, measurement tool, come over here and there and hold shift and draw a straight line to that. And that's 0.735 inches or 0.187. We're going to make it 2 mil. So I'm going to bring, I'm going to bring this $sign to the top of that there. Now it's aligned. And now I'm going to make my move increment 2 mil. Put it in millimetric here. Shift arrow is 1 mil. Okay, so now if I select that, hold shift and arrow twice, that's 2 mil below. So now, and I got my line at the top of the D. If you'll notice, your curved letters, the O's and the G's, they extend above the line. That's the way text works. So you want to use the D because it will not extend above it. And there we go. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, duplicate it, select, hold shift, select that, and align to the top. then you select it and shift arrow down twice. So now that positions that one exactly like that. Now I'm looking at the size, just now paying attention to that. I messed up my offset on this accidentally whenever I moved stuff around a minute ago. So actually it just needs to be realigned. So I drug it, hold shift, select that, bullseye those, there we go, and group them and put it back in the middle of that. There we go. Pay attention, pay attention. All right, so actually I need to select good jokes and my $, and I'm gonna blow that up. And the $sign is now too far away. All right, and I don't like my spacing between good and jokes. So I'm going to select good and jokes, and I'm going to decrease my my vertical spacing. So I'm going to decrease that and bring those tighter together. Yep, that's looking good. So in fact, let's make that just an even 28, negative 28. There we go. So now I can look at that. That's 19.5. So I can tell this to be 19.5 and a negative 28 vertical spacing. $19.5 and negative 28. Got to realign those because I just changed all that. Alrighty then, we'll bring this one here back up to the bottom of that. So now I'm gonna group those, Alt G, align it to the center, ungroup those, or Alt U or Control U. Control G for group. And there's not a keyboard shortcut there I see for the center, but we'll just say bed and center. It's Alt plus page down for center. All right. So ungroup that. And center. All right, now let's align everything to the right. There we go. And get rid of that for now. Now that's too big. Or that would actually should be 19.5. Because we said it was the same as the D, but below it. But I don't like it as big. We're going to make that make it 16.5. All right, and let's drag another one down. Just in case we've got to use those again, I don't want to move them. So that, align to that, and then move it down 2 mil. Not enough. Or is it? No, let's bring it down. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mil. All right. get the $sign. Let's go into change our view. We're getting to be where we need it in line mode to get what we want. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think I did control instead of arrow here. Let's try that again. Maybe 2 is enough. 1, 2. Yeah, I used the wrong button. So move that back up. 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's better. 2 mil still good. All right, let's bring another one down to dead. And we don't need a $sign, but I want free to line up there. And let's just try it at 16.5. See what it looks like. Now this one we're going to put our alignment to the middle. I don't think it really matters on this one. I'm going to align it to this one. And align this to the top of that. And then arrow it down. Shift arrow 2 mil. 1, 2. Alright. And then of charge is going to be smaller. Let's type it out first. Of charge. And now let's bring it down to size. And let's see what our overall width is of this. It's 36.324. Locker aspect ratio 36.324. And then align it to the center of that. There we go. And I'm liking that. Now the 1 and the 5 are much larger, but they're not as large as the combined good and joke. So let's do 5 up here. And in fact, let's see here. The overall height of that is 33.3, and it looks like it's about, I don't know, 75% of that. So let's do that. Let's do, overall height was 33.3. So let's put that at 33.3 height, 33.3. That gives me, wow, that's a whole lot bigger than that. That's from that, because the 5 curves and you got the extra flare there. Let's put it at 30. Just eyeing it for looks. That's closer. And now that I got, that's about the same height, I want the height to be 75% of that. So 75%. There we go. And align that to the top of the $sign. And we're going to give us a little bit of space. And now .oo text .oo, shrink it down. Up there, and align it to the, I don't want to align it to the top because that's going to put it up there at the top of that curly Q on the 5 like this. I don't want it there. I want it to align to there. So I'm going to bring that toolpath down and align it to the top of that toolpath there. And then I'm going to give it more spacing there. Okay. Now I'm going to grab that and that, and need to know where that 5 is in relation to my dollar. You know what? Let's see here. Those. Okay, that's aligned to the top of the dollar. Okay. I'm going to temporarily group them, Control D, duplicate them, and align it to the top of that dollar. Now I'm going to ungroup them and select that. Go to actually my text tool right there, backspace, $1. Okay. Now they don't have their. They did move it closer because it you can, and I'm going to do that too. That looks pretty even. All right. Now I'm going to get rid of this one. Get rid of this one, get rid of these. Select all of these up here. Let's group all that and tell it to go to the vertical center. There we go. And then just check. I'm going to select both of these, group it, and put that in the horizontal center. There we go. Ungroup those. And let's select all of this. Group it. Group these. Oh, gotta select it and center it. Oh, I didn't. Something didn't have. Something went on. Control Z. So this. Oh, it's because I'm still grouped down there. I didn't ungroup them all. I did it again. Ungroup, ungroup, ungroup. There we go. Now group this in the center of that. What did you just do again? You hit the wrong button, dummy. There we go. And now center that in here. And grab all this and group it. Let's ungroup this toolpath. Select those two, group those, that, in the horizontal center of, come on now, that, and in the vertical center of that. All right. And put it back in fill. That looks pretty good. Now, oh, I didn't change my size of my free of charge. My free of charge should be about that 75% height of all of this. So let's come back over here. Let's put it back in wireframe mode. Select these, ungroup them. Select these and group them. And for giggles, let's look at this. It was 33. What do we do with here? Ungroup. Just 22. right, well, let's do... We're not going to change our width, and we're going to leave our anchor point. We're going to put our anchor point in the top left corner. We're going to unlock the aspect ratio, and we're going to change the height to 22. Yeah, I like that. That's mo better. That's mo better. All right, window, field. And let's get rid of all of these. We can get rid of this now. And you tell me which one looks better. Tracing or the recreation. So this is how I make my signs in Lightburn. Not all of the artwork that I see is the concept. The concept is not always original. I do recreate, and sometimes I will expand upon an idea, but I find my inspiration in the real world and recreate stuff that people are already buying. And just for giggles, let me show you the file that I'm sharing with the gold patrons this month. So back over here. In fact, I don't need this one any longer. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to select this entire piece minus the toolpath, group it, and I'm going to import this as dad jokes and say okay, and that added that to my library. So now let's get rid of this, and I'm going to show you the library. So currently we are at 15 pieces, and I've got this one. A true friend remembers your birthday but not your age. This one you've seen. This is my compass rose, which you can edit and put whatever city you want and whatever GPS coordinates you want. This one I just showed you. Since we're redefining everything, this is a cordless hole puncher. And recreating this down here was fun because text is not uniform. The letters are not always the same size or width and height, and the curves on them. So I had to change this font from a font to shapes and resize everything in order to be able to recreate that and get that. If you're old enough to remember some of the alarm clocks from the 80s, you had those flipping little pieces. Well, that's what that kind of looks like. And targets. All right, so get rid of that. And then we just did dad jokes, and then I've got give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:1 or 6:11. Get rid of that one. Then this is one of my personal favorites. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. And get rid of all that. And now this one, this is completely out of the brain of Hobo. I designed all of this in Lightburn, including the bird cage or the cage. And it's got a man in there, and he's holding on to the balloon, won't let it go. But the balloon is actually tied to the pin that's holding his door closed. And if he'd let it go, if he'd let the balloon go, he'd have his freedom. Freedom, it can be as simple as letting go. And I like that. I like that. Like I said, that one came out of the scary brain that is Hobo with Wood. This one was another inspiration from Hobby Lobby, but I did all of this in Lightburn, including the transforming the letters, creating the curves, and all of that's done in Lightburn, like you just watched. No tracing, just using the tools in Lightburn. And I was asked to recreate this one. My uncle actually, I guess my grandfather had this hanging in the wall in the kitchen, and my uncle wanted a plaque to recreate that. And so, behind every successful man stands a woman, telling him that he's wrong. And that could be taken a couple of ways. And this one is kind of based on the same thoughts of the birdcage and the balloon, and it's actually again from the mind of Hobo. This was not a recreation. Sometimes your worst enemy is your own memory. Let it go. And there's a woman there just giving it up. And we've seen this a few videos prior. I'm going to let God fix it, because if I fix it, I'm going to jail. Another Hobby Lobby inspiration, because someone we love is in heaven, there's a little bit of heaven in our home. And in fact, I think I've got it still open here. Yep, there it is. There's the original. In fact, copy, image. Come back over here. I did it a little different. I did not put the corners in the corner of the framework. I put the corners proud and had the frame intersect with them. I like that a little bit better. But that was the inspiration. We don't call 911. Pray on it, pray over it, pray through it. And you got praying hands. And he is risen. Riven. He is risen with the dove. I'm going to create 5 more, so I've got a total of 20 of these to share with my patrons, my gold patrons, and that'll be the art library that I share for the month of April 2025 for my gold patrons. So if you like what you see and you want to be able to take advantage of this library, then you want to jump over to patreon.com/hobowithwood and become a gold patron today. And there's still the Easter library. You don't need it now, but you will need it. Well, actually, you still got time to use it. But if you grab it now, you'll have the Easter library, because every time I post a new library, I take the previous library down. And I've been sharing some free stuff with everybody in patreon.com. So go over and take a look at that. Sign up. You maybe even sign up for a free member. There's some free posts in there, but to see stuff, see everything, you need to be a paid patron. And the gold patrons see a lot more and get a lot more free stuff. So if you enjoy these videos and you would like to be sure that you continue to see Hobo here teaching and showing and instructing, that's how I do it. If it wasn't for my patrons, I wouldn't be here today. So thanks to each and every one of them, gold, silver, and bronze. But the gold is the backbone, and they get the lion's share of free stuff. So thank you for watching. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm out.